Ancient India witnessed a flourishing of diverse philosophical and religious schools of thought. Amidst this intellectual landscape, a distinct and radical voice emerged, the Charvaka school of philosophy. The Charvakas, known for their uncompromising materialism and skepticism, challenged the prevailing spiritual and metaphysical beliefs of their time. They boldly asserted that the material world, as perceived through the senses, was the only reality. The Charvakas rejected the existence of anything beyond the realm of sensory experience. Gods, souls, karma, and the afterlife all were deemed mere fabrications of the human mind. This radical departure from the dominant spiritual paradigms of ancient India marked the Charvakas as a distinct and often controversial voice in the tapestry of Indian thought. Their unwavering commitment to materialism and their questioning of established norms set them apart as pioneers of a rational and empirical worldview in a time dominated by spiritualism. The Charvaka school of philosophy, also known as Lokayata, meaning philosophy of the people, is believed to have originated around the 6th century BCE. This period, coinciding with the rise of Buddhism and Jainism, was marked by intense intellectual ferment and a questioning of traditional Vedic authority. While the exact origins of Charvaka philosophy remain shrouded in the mists of time, its emergence during this era of intellectual upheaval is significant. The Charvakas did not leave behind a systematic body of written texts, and much of what we know about their philosophy comes from the works of their critics. The ancient Indian philosophical tradition often engaged in vigorous debates and refutations, and it is through these refutations that we gain glimpses into the core tenets of Charvaka thought. These fragments, scattered across various texts, provide valuable insights into the Charvakas' worldview and their critiques of other philosophical schools. The Charvaka school of philosophy stood in stark contrast to the dominant spiritual and metaphysical beliefs prevalent in ancient India. At the heart of their worldview lay a deep skepticism towards anything that could not be verified through direct perception. The Charvakas rejected the authority of the Vedas, the sacred texts of Hinduism, considering them to be the creations of cunning priests seeking to maintain their power. They dismissed the concepts of karma, rebirth, and the soul as mere superstitions, devoid of any empirical basis. For the Charvakas, the material world, as perceived through the senses, was the only reality, and death marked the absolute end of individual existence. This emphasis on direct perception and their rejection of the supernatural formed the bedrock of their philosophy, setting them apart as radical materialists in a culture steeped in spirituality. Central to the Charvaka philosophy was the principle of pratyaksha, meaning perception or direct experience. They argued that the only reliable source of knowledge was that which could be directly perceived through the senses. Anything beyond the realm of sensory experience, including abstract concepts like gods, souls, or an afterlife, was considered mere speculation and therefore unworthy of belief. This emphasis on direct perception naturally led the Charvakas to embrace a materialistic worldview. They believed that the universe was composed solely of matter, and that all phenomena, including consciousness and thought, could be explained in terms of material interactions. This materialistic stance distinguished them from other Indian schools of thought that posited the existence of a non-material soul or consciousness. Section 5. A chorus of dissent criticisms faced by Charvaka from orthodox schools. The Charvaka school's radical ideas and their rejection of widely held religious beliefs naturally drew criticism from other philosophical schools in ancient India. Orthodox schools like Vedanta, Nyaya, and Sankhya, which formed the bedrock of Hindu philosophy, vehemently opposed the Charvakas' materialistic worldview. They argued that the Charvakas' rejection of the Vedas and their denial of the soul undermined the moral and spiritual fabric of society. Buddhist and Jain philosophers, while sharing some common ground with the Charvakas in their rejection of Vedic authority, also criticized their hedonistic approach to life. They argued that the pursuit of pleasure without any ethical framework would ultimately lead to suffering and perpetuate the cycle of birth and death, a concept the Charvakas vehemently rejected. These criticisms, coming from various corners of the intellectual landscape of ancient India, highlight the controversial nature of Charvaka philosophy and its challenge to the established order. Section 6. The Riddle of a Lost Legacy. exploring the decline and disappearance of Charvaka texts. Despite its significant presence in ancient Indian philosophical discourse, the Charvaka school of thought gradually declined over the centuries. The reasons for this decline are complex and multifaceted, but a key factor is believed to be the lack of patronage from royal courts and the rise of more orthodox Hindu philosophical schools. Unlike other schools of thought that enjoyed royal support and had their teachings preserved in monasteries and temples, the Charvakas, with their rejection of religious rituals and their critique of priestly authority, found little favor among the ruling elite. Furthermore, the Charvakas did not place much emphasis on writing down their teachings. They believed in the power of direct experience and debate, and much of their philosophy was transmitted orally. This lack of a systematic body of written texts made their teachings vulnerable to being lost or forgotten over time. The decline of the Charvaka school and the disappearance of their texts remain a significant loss to the history of Indian philosophy, depriving us of a deeper understanding of their worldview and their impact on subsequent intellectual traditions. Section 7. A Materialist Legacy: Charvaka's Enduring Influence on Indian Thought. Although the Charvaka school of thought declined, and their original texts were lost, their ideas continued to exert a subtle influence on Indian intellectual history. Their emphasis on direct perception and their questioning of traditional beliefs resonated with later skeptical and materialist thinkers within various Indian philosophical traditions. Even within the orthodox Hindu schools, there emerged strands of thought that echoed the Charvakas' emphasis on reason and empirical observation. The Charvakas' legacy lies not in the establishment of a rigid philosophical system, but in their spirit of critical inquiry and their challenge to dogma. Their ideas served as a constant reminder of the importance of questioning received wisdom and seeking evidence-based understanding of the world. In this sense, the Charvakas can be seen as early pioneers of rational thought and scientific inquiry in India. Section 8. Bridging the Millennia: Charvaka's Resonance with Modern Secularism and Humanism. The Charvaka school of philosophy, though rooted in ancient India, offers surprisingly relevant insights for the modern world. Their emphasis on direct perception, their rejection of dogma and the supernatural, and their focus on human happiness resonate with contemporary secular, humanist, and skeptical thought. In an age where scientific inquiry and critical thinking are paramount, the Charvakas' emphasis on evidence-based understanding of the world holds particular significance. Their focus on human happiness and their rejection of otherworldly rewards as the basis for morality find echoes in modern ethical systems that prioritize human well-being and social justice. The Charvakas remind us that a fulfilling life can be found in the here and now, through the pursuit of knowledge, the appreciation of beauty, and the cultivation of meaningful relationships. Section 9. A Timeless Inquiry: Charvaka's Invitation to Critical Thinking and Self-Reflection. The Charvaka school of philosophy, despite its ancient origins and its eventual decline, continues to offer valuable lessons for us today. Their unwavering commitment to critical thinking, their rejection of blind faith, and their emphasis on human experience serve as timeless reminders of the importance of questioning, exploring, and seeking truth through reason and observation. In a world often dominated by dogma and unquestioned beliefs, the Charvakas' message of intellectual independence and their invitation to engage in critical self-reflection remain as relevant as ever. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, the Charvaka school encourages us to approach life with a spirit of inquiry, to embrace a worldview grounded in reason and evidence, and to seek meaning and purpose in the richness of human experience. Their legacy lies not in providing definitive answers, but in inspiring us to ask difficult questions, to challenge conventional wisdom, and to forge our own paths towards understanding and living a fulfilling life.